In this video, we are going to look for the 8 deadly traps in the King's Gambit, which you can use for winning against better players. Here we begin with e4, black replies with e5, and then we begin the move, which is f4. And this appears quite shocking move because no one can expect anything like this from white. Anyways, black begins the game with bishop to c5, having an open diagonal, attacking along the king's side as well. Now, you can easily understand the main prospect of playing queen over here. No matter we can protect it. Yet we know that black can make moves like queen over there and then take back the queen to f6 and attack along the f2 square. Anyways, in order to stop such attacks, we begin with the move knight to f3. Here, black plays d6, developing another bishop which can be used for pinning the knight. Here, we doesn't care about such things and instead we play c3 in order to create the attack over the center as well as to control the center. Anyways, black plays queen to e7, which is kind of a stunning move. Why? Because he want to attack this highlighted pawn, which is e4. Anyways, let us say we push the pawn d4. Now, black has two options, whether it can take back the bishop or it can take the pawn. Because this pawn is already attacking the bishop, so black decides to take the pawn. Here we also take the pawn and again it is attacking the bishop, but black doesn't care for it and instead black plays a shocking move and that is queen cross e4 giving a check, and in actual it is a blunder. Why it is a blunder? Because many of you would be thinking to protect this with bishop or the queen, but no, we are not going to move our bishop or queen. We are going to move king to f2 and then now it is attacking the bishop, so black plays the bishop back. And now can you think for the move? So the right move is playing bishop to b5 giving a check, which is a deadly check. Let us say it protects with c6. Then there is another move that is rook to e1, which blocks the queen, also pinning the queen, and you can easily win the queen. Anyways, let's look. In this position, it doesn't play c6 and instead it makes the move like king to d8. No matter whatever it plays, we are going to repeat the same activity. Rook to e1. Now again it is like attacking the queen. So queen goes back and here comes rook to e8 mate. These are the traffics many of the players does not know and you can use this to win against many players. Here we look for the second deadly trap in the King's Gambit where white begins with e4, we play e5, f4 and then finally we are going to play d5, which is also called the fork p counter gambit. Now let us say white takes the pawn, then we push c6 opening another pawn, but white doesn't take it and instead it plays queen to e2. Now the simple method is just to attack the pawn over here and we don't care for it. We attack the pawn. Now queen takes that pawn and then we protect our check with bishop to e7. Now simply you can see the g7 pawn hanging. What do you think what you will do? So you will be thinking for taking the pawn at g7 and similarly this was the 2300 rated player who did the same activity by taking the pawn, which is a blunder. Why it is a blunder? Let us say a common move can be playing bishop to f6. which is attacking the queen, and then queen goes back. There is no safe square also. I can say this square isn't safe. This is also not safe. This is also not safe. This is also not safe. Only one square is safe, and that is g3. Here, white plays queen to g3, and then we are going to play bishop to x4, winning the queen. And then finally, white resigns. Here we look for the third trap in the king's gambit, where we are going to look for the king's gambit accepted variation, which begin with the move e4, e5, f4, and then black takes the pawn. Now here we look for knight to f3, stopping the early queen attack. Here black plays g5, protecting the pawn. No matter whatever it does, we are going to develop our bishop by playing bishop to c4. Then it plays x6, and we play x4, attacking the pawn. Now for extra security of this pawn, it plays f6, which is completely a blunder. And you all can think for what we can do in this position. So in this position, we can make a stunning sacrifice, and that is knight to e5, sacrificing the knight. Here, black takes the knight, and then queen to x5, giving a check. And now king has only one option to come at e7, and black plays king to e7, queen to f7, giving a check. King goes to d6, and then queen d5 check. King goes to e7, and then queen cross e5. That is a mate. Here we look for the fourth trap in the king's gambit, where white plays e4, e5, f4, and again it is the accepted variation where we take the pawn, knight to f3, g5. Now you would be thinking that we are going to play x6 in the next move. No, we are not going to repeat like that activity. Here, let us say white plays x4. Then we are going to push the pawn, attacking the knight. Knight comes to e5, attacking the pawn, and black doesn't care for it. And black goes for bishop to g7, attacking the knight. Knight cross g4. Then we are going to play d5, attacking the center. Not only attacking the center, but also attacking the knight. And white thinks that this knight is already protected by his queen, so why to move knight? Instead, white accept the trade, which is kind of a mistake. Anyways, you can see that the king file is completely open, so black plays queen to e7, giving a check. Now let us say white plays bishop or the queen, then safely we are going to win the knight. So instead, white was aware for all these. Here white plays king to f2. Now we are going to play bishop to d4, giving a check. King goes to f3, bishop cross g4, giving a check. Now this time it is also attacking the queen, so king has to take that. Knight to f6, giving a check. King goes to f3, and then queen to e4, giving a mate. Now we look for the fifth trap, where white plays e4, e5, f4, d5, which is the fork-wheel counter gambit. And now this time we are not going to take any of the pawns. Instead, we are going to play knight to f3. Here we take the pawn, attacking the knight, where knight takes another pawn. Knight to c6, offering a knight exchange. But white begins with bishop to b6, winning the knight. Now you would be thinking for playing bishop to d7 or knight to e7, but in this game we are not going to do any of this. And instead we are going to develop our knight by playing knight to f6. Here let us say white takes the knight. Then we also take it, bishop takes, and now it is attacking the rook, giving a check. Here we develop our bishop, preventing the check. White takes the bishop, and now in this position, black is completely lost as per you all. But instead, we can play a move like bishop to g4 attacking the queen. And there is no way to protect the queen. The queen is gone. Let us say white plays knight to c3. We take the queen and then knight also takes the bishop. Here we win the bishop as well. Now it gives us massive 3 points advantage, and here black is completely winning. Here we look for the sixth trap in the king gambit, where we begin with e4, e5, f4, and this is the king's gambit accepted variation. Now many of you would be thinking for playing knight to f3 in this position, but here we are going to do something different, and that is play bishop to c4. And black plays queen to x4, giving a check. King goes to f1, bishop to c5, threatening the checkmate. So in order to stop it, we begin with d4, attacking the bishop. Bishop goes back, and here we develop our knight attacking the queen. Now queen goes to g4, and this was exactly what white wanted. Here we are going to play brilliant bishop sacrifice, and let us say black takes it, then knight to e5 giving a check, and it is a brilliant move, and that is your thought. You can take from a knight, or you can also take from the queen. Anyways, let's look if black doesn't take it, and simply it moves to f8. Here we are going to play x3, attacking the queen. Queen comes to g3, then we develop another knight, and this time black doesn't feel any danger for taking this bishop, so black takes the bishop. Here we are going to play knight to e2, attacking the queen, and only safe square for queen is at g6. So black takes the queen to g6, and here we begin with knight e5 check, attacking the queen, and you can easily win the queen. For the seventh trap, where black begins with d5, also called the fork b counter gambit, knight to f3, d cross e4, knight takes the pawn, bishop to c5, developing the bishop, knight to c3, attacking the pawn. So in order to protect it, black plays knight to f6, then comes queen to e2, attacking the pawn. Here knight to c6, and which is completely a mistake, because we can easily sacrifice our knight, attacking the queen as well as the rook. So black takes the knight, and we begin with queen to c4, giving a check. Now black position for the king is already ruined, and we can easily win the bishop as well. Coming back, we can easily see that these highlighted pieces are already being attacked by this knight. So we must protect the queen by playing queen to e7. Knight takes the rook. Then come knight to d4, attacking the queen as well as attacking the c2 pawn, threatening the check as well as to take the rook. Here queen goes to d1, and this was exactly what black expected. Black plays knight to f3, giving a check, which is the brilliant knight sacrifice. Here white takes the knight. Black takes the pawn, and it is also giving a check via queen. Now white's king is already being blocked, and there is no option rather than playing bishop or the queen or the knight. In the game, white plays bishop to e2, and then we are going to play f2, giving a check. Now king has one option for playing king to f1, and here comes the mate, bishop to x3. For the final trap in the king's gambit where white plays e4, e5, f4, and this time we accept it. Knight to f3, knight to f6. Now, many of you would be thinking for playing e5, attacking the knight. Knight goes to x5, knight to c3, developing another knight. Here we play d6, attacking the pawn. White plays bishop to c4, then we take the pawn, knight crosses c5, then come queen to x4, giving a check. King goes to f1, and then finally we offer a trade by playing bishop to e6. Actually, the main motive is just to remove this bishop from this open diagonal, which is useful. Anyways, here white accepts the trade, and now our work is done. We don't need to take it back. Instead, we can begin with another shocking move, that is knight to g3, giving a check. Also, it is threatening the rook. And let us say if it takes, then we also take the rook. So white doesn't accept this, and instead white plays king to g1. Here we begin with bishop to c5, giving the check. Now king is already being trapped, and let us say white d4. So again we take the pawn, and queen takes that bishop, which is completely a mistake because we are going to begin with knight to e2, giving a check. Now this knight can take the knight, which is a sure thing, which you can make sure. Otherwise, let us say it doesn't take, and instead king comes here, then we can win the queen. So in this position, white decides to take it, and here comes the mate, that is queen to e1.